requiring the leader of our public health and human services to have a minimum education requirement and require that a 2/3 majority vote approve all people appointed by the president.
Again?
The U.S. Senate should pass a law requiring the leader of our public health and human services to have a minimum education requirement and require that a 2/3 majority vote approve all people appointed by the president.
All right, everybody. Up next, we have Lana.
Imagine you went to the doctor and your physician wasn't even a doctor at all, but instead they were a lawyer. Understandably, you'd probably be upset as you went to see a licensed medical professional, not someone who hasn't taken a chemistry class since freshman year. And this is the case with our current Director of Health and Human Services. Along with our past several directors, they have all been lawyers. I think we can agree that a title does not equal an expertise in the field. So the U.S. Senate should pass a law requiring the leader of our public health and human services to have at minimum a medical degree and require that a 2/3 majority vote approve all people appointed by the president. Today I will be covering how uneducated leaders create a sense of mistrust in our society, which leads to harmful impacts in our healthcare fields, finances, and even our own homes. First, let's define what the problem really is. Uneducated leaders lead to a sense of mistrust in our society. This problem presents itself in a few ways. So first, our own Director of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., said in a video posted by PBS News in May of 2025 that he doesn't think anyone should be taking medical advice from him. And when our own leader states this, many people wonder who, if anyone in our government, that they can trust. Most of our recent HHS leaders were not doctors at all, but instead they were lawyers. For instance, according to congress.gov, a site where you can learn about all of our past and current members, Kennedy received his law degree from the University of Virginia Law School. Many reports suggest that public approval has also declined since Kennedy became the director. In an article published by NPR News, posted in October of 2025, the poll found that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, more commonly known as the CDC, has seen a large decline in public trust as the Trump administration works to dismantle many of its mandates. The NPR also notes a 24% decline in trust in the CDC's vaccine information just in the past 2 years. Coincidentally, this also coincides with when Kennedy took office. This problem is widespread as many people get their advice from their leaders. According to the National Library of Medicine, in an article titled "The Fragility of Public Health in the Face of Controversial Leadership," posted in July of 2025, leadership that prioritizes ideology over evidence undermines trust, weakens institutions, and jeopardizes collective well-being. We are also seeing many diseases resurface that haven't occurred in the recent years, such as the measles, mumps, and rubella. And there are also many harms associated with this problem, as it creates division in our healthcare fields. Various reports have shown that in the face of controversial leadership, where many are not willing to cross sides, medicine is the place that suffers the most. And these uneducated leaders lead to frivolous spending. When a leader is uneducated, they tend to spend money where it is not needed. For instance, they're redoing tests that were done fairly recently and show promising results, or telling pregnant mothers that Tylenol, a simple pain medicine, one of the only ones that they can take while being pregnant, is going to give their kid autism. And when asked in an interview about this issue, said that they were going to create the evidence for this test. And it also leads to division in our own homes, as many families are seeing varied opinions throughout their household on whether or not we are consistently voting in good people for this job. And without the lead of physicians, too many people will continue to be led with misinformation and a sense of blind trust. And the status quo will not solve this problem. It is impossible to make long-term change without the knowledge and the leadership of physicians. As explained in an article by the American Medical Association, the truth is that in the long run, it's a good idea learning how to manage as well as practice medicine, because that is the future role of the physician. So, if we cannot keep the status quo, how can we fix it? The U.S. Senate should impose a law making the leader of our public health and human services have at minimum a medical degree, and along with any person up for this position needs to be approved with a 2/3 majority vote. And the solution will work in 2 steps. The first step is to have the Senate pass a bill that forces leaders of our public health to have a medical degree. This is so we know they have a baseline of knowledge versus their own opinions, which may or may not be factually based. Next, we will create a 2/3 majority vote for any person appointed by the president, and this will thus force people to work across party lines. And this is a crucial step because almost all of our past HHS leaders have been approved because their party held the majority. For instance, our last appointment was 52 to 48, with only one Republican voting against Kennedy. And it is hard to tell if that is what they truly believe is best for this country, or if they just saw the color red or blue. And this solution is practical in our current government system because once the bill is passed in the House and the Senate, it is easy to adopt and implement. And this solution will have benefits to everyone, as people will no longer have to wonder if their leaders are credible in what they say. In conclusion, the problem of not having educated leaders as their director of health and human services leads to a sense of mistrust in our society, which leads to harmful impacts in our healthcare fields, finances, and our own homes. And this is why the U.S. Senate should impose a law making the leader of our public health and human services have at minimum a medical degree, and require that all people appointed by the president for this position be approved by a 2/3 majority vote. After all, if we cannot trust those in positions of power, how can we trust those around them?